What affects them most is not something they can see or touch. It is psychological. It is the energy you bring into the connection. It is the subtle emotional experience you create around them. And unlike obvious attempts to impress or attract, these qualities move beneath their defenses without triggering their instinct to pull away. Once you understand this dynamic, you stop chasing attention and start becoming the kind of presence that naturally draws them closer. One of the most powerful things an avoidant person encounters is emotional independence. Not the kind that is performed for validation or designed to make someone jealous, but a genuine sense of inner stability. A quiet confidence that says your happiness does not depend on another person choosing you. Avoidant individuals are highly sensitive to emotional pressure. They constantly monitor relationships for signs that they may become responsible for someone else's emotional well-being. The moment they sense dependency, obligation, or unspoken expectations, their protective instincts often activate. Distance begins to feel safer than connection. But when they meet someone who values intimacy without relying on it for survival, everything changes. Your ability to remain grounded in yourself communicates something important. It tells them that connection can exist without control. It shows them that closeness does not automatically lead to emotional burden. Without saying a word, your presence reassures them that they are free rather than trapped. Ironically, this is often the exact moment they begin moving closer. Not because they suddenly become comfortable with vulnerability, but because the relationship no longer feels threatening. The absence of pressure creates room for curiosity, and curiosity is often the doorway through which attachment enters. Another quality that affects avoidant individuals more deeply than attraction itself is emotional depth combined with restraint. Many people believe that expressing every feeling immediately is a sign of authenticity, but to an avoidant person, overwhelming emotional intensity can feel like too much, too soon. There is something incredibly powerful about a person who feels deeply without constantly demanding attention for those feelings. Someone who possesses emotional richness, but reveals it with intention rather than urgency. This kind of energy creates mystery. Avoidant individuals are often drawn to what they cannot completely figure out. When every thought, feeling, and desire is instantly available, there is little left for their mind to explore. But when they sense layers beneath the surface, their attention naturally deepens. Curiosity becomes activated, and curiosity has a unique power that desire often lacks. Desire can appear quickly and disappear just as fast. Curiosity lingers. It grows stronger over time. It keeps people thinking long after an interaction has ended. When an avoidant person cannot fully understand you at once, their mind begins searching for answers. They start wondering what lies beneath your calm exterior. They notice details. They remember conversations. Their imagination fills in spaces where certainty does not exist. And in many cases, this process creates a deeper bond than physical attraction ever could. Consistency is another force that quietly bypasses avoidant defenses. Many avoidant individuals have learned to associate relationships with instability. They anticipate emotional outbursts, sudden demands, changing expectations, and unpredictable reactions. As closeness increases, they often prepare themselves for conflict or pressure because that is what their past experiences have taught them to expect. This is why consistency carries such power. When your behavior remains steady, when your words align with your actions, and when your emotional state does not swing dramatically from one moment to the next, something important begins to happen inside them. Their nervous system slowly stops preparing for danger. Your consistency becomes evidence that connection does not have to be chaotic. You are not forcing conversations. You are not creating ultimatums. You are not using guilt, manipulation, or emotional unpredictability to pull them closer. Instead, you remain centered, calm, and secure within yourself. For many avoidant individuals, this kind of stability is unfamiliar, yet it is deeply comforting. Contrary to what some people believe, predictability does not always create boredom. For someone who has spent years protecting themselves from emotional overwhelm, predictability can feel incredibly safe. It removes the constant need to anticipate problems. It allows their guard to lower little by little. Over time, your steady presence becomes something they trust, and trust is often far more powerful than attraction. Because while desire can capture attention, trust creates emotional safety. and emotional safety is one of the few things capable of reaching the parts of an avoidant person that remain hidden behind their walls. The truth is that what impacts an avoidant partner most is rarely dramatic. It is not grand gestures, relentless pursuit, or attempts to prove your worth. It is the quiet strength of someone who is emotionally grounded, self-respecting, and secure within themselves. That kind of energy speaks directly to the fears avoidant individuals rarely express. It shows them that connection does not have to cost them their freedom. It teaches them that intimacy and independence can exist side by side. And when they begin to believe that, the walls they have spent years maintaining often start to soften on their own. Desire may create excitement, but stability creates comfort. And for someone who has spent years bracing for emotional turbulence, comfort can become far more compelling than attraction itself. What often affects an avoidant person most is the experience of being understood without feeling exposed. At their core, many avoidant individuals struggle with the fear that being fully known means surrendering control. Yet when someone notices them carefully, their habits, subtle shifts in mood, the meaning hidden within their silence, without demanding explanations or pushing for vulnerability, something powerful happens. A deeper form of connection begins to develop. Physical attraction seeks entry. Genuine understanding offers acceptance. And acceptance feels far safer than desire to someone who instinctively guards their emotional world. Another quality that often has a stronger impact than attraction is the ability to respect distance. Many people interpret space as rejection and immediately move closer, hoping to restore connection. An avoidant person usually experiences distance differently. For them, space is often a way of processing emotions, regaining balance, and regulating internal discomfort. When someone allows that space without resentment, guilt-tripping, or emotional punishment, it disrupts their expectations. They are accustomed to distance creating conflict. They expect frustration, accusations, or pressure. When none of that appears, when their need for space is met with calm understanding, it creates a profound sense of relief, and relief can be surprisingly magnetic. What draws them back is often not intensity, but the absence of it. Quiet confidence carries a similar power. Avoidant individuals frequently pick up on subtle emotional dynamics, even when they are not consciously aware of doing so. They notice when someone depends on external validation, seeks constant reassurance, or relies on the relationship to feel secure. But when they encounter someone who possesses a grounded sense of self-worth, someone who feels whole without needing approval, their attention shifts. That kind of confidence is not loud. It does not demand recognition. It simply exists. It communicates that your value is not determined by another person's choices. It shows that you trust yourself, respect yourself, and remain emotionally anchored regardless of what happens around you. For someone who fears becoming responsible for another person's emotional stability, this level of self-possession is deeply attractive. Another often overlooked quality is emotional composure during conflict. Avoidant individuals are highly reactive to emotional escalation. Raised voices, dramatic confrontations, and overwhelming displays of emotion can quickly trigger their instinct to withdraw. Intensity often feels less like connection and more like danger. However, when needs are communicated calmly, honestly, and without emotional flooding, they are far more likely to remain engaged. A calm conversation creates space where understanding can exist. A volatile one often closes that space entirely. Over time, it is not passion that builds trust. It is presence. The ability to remain steady during difficult moments creates a foundation that attraction alone cannot provide. In many cases, calmness opens doors to intimacy that desire never reaches. A rich and meaningful life also carries a powerful appeal. Avoidant individuals are often uncomfortable when a relationship becomes someone's entire world. Excessive availability can feel less like devotion and more like pressure. It can create the sense that the relationship carries responsibilities they never agreed to accept. But when someone has passions, goals, friendships, interests, and a life that feels full beyond the relationship, it creates a different emotional experience. It signals that connection is a choice rather than a necessity. There is no hidden obligation, no expectation that they must become the center of another person's existence, that independence creates room for attraction to grow naturally. Without force, without pursuit, without emotional pressure. Finally, there is emotional honesty without attachment to an outcome. This is one of the most powerful qualities an avoidant person can encounter. Speaking truthfully about your feelings while releasing the need to control their response demonstrates emotional maturity. It shows that your honesty is an expression of self-respect rather than an attempt to secure validation. There is no hidden demand beneath your words, no expectation that they must react a certain way to make you feel whole. And because of that, your honesty feels safe. It allows them to experience authenticity without feeling cornered. For an avoidant person, that combination of truth, freedom, and emotional stability can be far more compelling than attraction alone. It creates an environment where connection develops naturally, trust forms gradually, and intimacy emerges without either person feeling trapped by it. There is another quality that affects an avoidant person far more deeply than most people realize: emotional honesty that comes without hidden expectations. Many avoidant individuals have learned to associate emotional expression with responsibility. In their experience, when someone shares feelings, there is often an unspoken demand attached to it, a need for reassurance, comfort, commitment, or immediate action. Because of this, they often become guarded the moment emotions enter the conversation. But something entirely different happens when honesty is offered freely. When you express your truth simply because it is true, without needing them to fix it, validate it, or respond in a particular way, their defenses begin to soften. They encounter something unusual: intimacy that does not come with a price tag. For many avoidant people, that experience is rare. They are accustomed to relationships where emotional closeness feels connected to obligation. When they discover a form of honesty that asks for nothing in return, it quietly challenges everything they believe about connection. Physical attraction may catch their attention, but emotional authenticity without pressure reaches much deeper. Clear boundaries create a similar effect. Many people assume boundaries create distance, but healthy boundaries often do the opposite. They establish safety, they remove confusion, they define where one person ends and another begins. Avoidant individuals tend to respect firm boundaries far more than emotional pleading. They are often uncomfortable with attempts to influence them through guilt, pressure, or emotional intensity. However, when someone calmly communicates their limits and consistently honors them, a different dynamic emerges. That behavior demonstrates self-respect. It shows that you value yourself enough to protect your well-being without needing to control anyone else. There is no power struggle. There is no attempt to dominate. There is no attempt to surrender your needs either. Instead, there is balance. You stand firmly in your truth while allowing the other person the freedom to stand in theirs. That combination of strength and emotional maturity can be incredibly attractive to someone who instinctively resists control. Another surprisingly powerful quality is the ability to share silence comfortably. Not silence used as punishment, not silence designed to create anxiety, but genuine, peaceful silence. The kind that allows two people to exist together without constantly filling every moment with words, explanations, or reassurance. Many relationships become overwhelmed by the need to maintain continuous engagement. Every pause must be filled. Every uncertainty must be discussed immediately. Every emotional shift demands attention. For an avoidant person, that constant stimulation can feel exhausting. Comfortable silence communicates something different. It says that connection does not require performance. It suggests that presence alone is enough. While attraction often seeks stimulation, silence offers peace. And for someone whose nervous system is always monitoring for pressure, peace can become incredibly compelling. It creates an atmosphere where curiosity naturally develops. It gives attachment room to grow without force. And that space often becomes more meaningful than endless emotional intensity. Yet perhaps the strongest psychological attraction of all emerges when you stop trying to create attraction in the first place. There is a profound shift that occurs when you release the need to be chosen, when you no longer require someone to understand you in order to feel secure, when you stop shaping your behavior around gaining approval, earning commitment, or influencing their decisions. Something changes. You become emotionally sovereign. Your sense of self is no longer dependent on their response. You are not pursuing validation. You are not chasing certainty. You are simply grounded in who you are. Avoidant individuals are often drawn to this kind of emotional freedom because it mirrors something they deeply value themselves: autonomy. When your presence feels calm, self-contained, and free of hidden agendas, they experience something they rarely encounter: safety. Not safety created through promises or guarantees, safety created through the absence of pressure, and no amount of physical attraction can replicate that feeling. Only emotional steadiness, subtle confidence, and psychological security can accomplish it. One of the biggest misunderstandings about avoidant individuals is the belief that they are unaffected by attraction. That is rarely the case. The reality is that they are far more sensitive to pressure than most people realize. When attraction becomes tied to expectations, demands, or emotional dependency, their instinct is often to retreat. What pushes them away is not necessarily closeness itself, but the feeling that closeness may cost them their freedom. This is why a calm and grounded presence often succeeds where intensity fails. When they begin associating you with respect, freedom, understanding, and emotional safety, attachment can develop in ways that extend far beyond initial attraction. The emotions that remain are not always the dramatic ones people talk about. It is relief, it is trust, it is curiosity, it is a quiet fascination that continues growing over time. These are the feelings that linger long after excitement fades. Understanding these principles is not about learning how to manipulate someone into choosing you. It is about becoming the kind of person whose presence naturally feels safe to someone who has spent much of their life protecting themselves. If you have ever felt confused by the mixed signals, distance, or contradictions often associated with avoidance, remember this: they are not primarily reacting to what you want from them, they are reacting to how they experience themselves when they are with you. And the experiences that leave the deepest mark are rarely built on passion alone. They are built on freedom. They are built on respect, they are built on safety, and they are built on a quiet sense of fascination that asks for nothing while inviting everything. That is why some connections continue long after physical attraction loses its intensity. That is why certain relationships leave a lasting imprint. And that is why a calm, steady, psychologically safe presence will almost always have more power than emotional intensity alone. As we come to the end of this discussion, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The deepest connections with an avoidant person are rarely built through intensity. They are built through safety. While many people focus on creating attraction, chasing chemistry, or trying to become irresistible, avoidant individuals are often responding to something far less obvious and far more meaningful. They are responding to how your presence makes them feel. For someone whose nervous system has learned to associate closeness with pressure, obligation, or loss of freedom, the greatest gift is not passion, it is peace. It is the experience of being around someone who does not demand, control, chase, or consume them. Someone who can offer connection without attachment, honesty without expectation, and care without conditions. Throughout this speech, we have explored a powerful idea: that emotional self-sufficiency, quiet confidence, consistency, healthy boundaries, comfortable silence, and genuine respect for autonomy all create a form of attraction that goes far beyond physical desire. These qualities do not force attachment. They create the conditions where attachment can develop naturally, and that distinction matters, because anything built through pressure eventually creates resistance. Anything built through emotional dependence eventually creates fear. But when connection is rooted in freedom, respect, and emotional safety, it has room to grow without triggering the defenses that avoidant individuals have spent years building. Many people make the mistake of believing that if they can just say the right thing, do the right thing, or prove their love strongly enough, an avoidant person will finally let them in. But lasting connection is not created by convincing someone to choose you. It is created by becoming a person whose presence feels safe enough that they want to move closer on their own. That is why the most attractive quality is often the one people overlook. It is not neediness disguised as love. It is not emotional intensity disguised as passion. It is not constant availability disguised as devotion. It is emotional sovereignty, the ability to remain grounded within yourself regardless of another person's choices, the ability to care deeply without losing yourself, the ability to express honestly without demanding a particular outcome, the ability to respect both your own boundaries and theirs. When you embody these qualities, something remarkable happens. You stop focusing on how to make someone stay, and you start creating relationships that are healthy enough to stay on their own. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. The goal was never to learn how to manipulate an avoidant person into attachment. The goal is to understand the kind of emotional environment where genuine connection can thrive. An environment where freedom and intimacy coexist, where closeness does not require sacrifice of identity, where love is not experienced as a burden, but as a source of comfort. If you remember only one thing from this entire conversation, let it be this. Avoidant people are not searching for perfection. They are searching for safety. They are not drawn toward people who make them feel trapped. They are drawn toward people who make connection feel possible. And the people who leave the deepest impact are rarely the loudest, the most dramatic, or the most intense. They are the ones who remain calm when others become reactive. They are the ones who maintain self-respect without becoming controlling. They are the ones who offer understanding without demanding access. They are the ones who create an atmosphere where another person can breathe. In the end, attraction may open the door, but safety is what invites someone to stay. Desire may capture attention for a moment, but trust, freedom, and emotional steadiness are what create lasting bonds. Long after excitement fades, long after the novelty disappears, these are the qualities people remember. So focus less on being desired and more on being grounded. Focus less on chasing connection and more on embodying the qualities that make connection feel safe. Because when someone associates you with peace instead of pressure, freedom instead of obligation, and understanding instead of judgment, you create something far more powerful than attraction. You create the possibility for real intimacy. And that is the kind of connection that endures.